So we'll go ahead and get started. Again, welcome everybody to today's webinar. My name is Dave Arnold. I'm one of the senior trainers here at Workamajig. And today we're lucky to be joined by Jen Williams, Kevin Fyffe, and Heather Broda from GaleForce Digital Technologies. And today's topic is going to be incorporating GaleForce media into the agency workflow. Would you guys like a little bit of time to introduce yourself? And then we can
Sure.
go. So go ahead, and Jen and Heather. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining. I am Jen Williams, Chief Operating Officer of GaleForce Digital Technology. Some of you may already be familiar with us. We're a media buying and planning software. So I'll give it to Kevin.
And I'm Kevin Fyffe. I'm the VP of Client Experience. I handle a lot of the training and support for our clients, and I've been with the company for about 6 years, and I was with other software companies before that.
And I'm Heather Broda. I'm VP of Client Support. I also work pretty closely with the Workamajig team regarding troubleshooting, enhancements, things of that like. And I've been with the company for 4 years, and like Kevin, have a background in software as well.
All right. Well, thank you guys very much. And again, if you have any questions, there's a Q&A button down at the bottom for you to put in questions. Yeah, so I'll go ahead and turn this over. Well, let's set some expectations. So again, this is not a super deep dive into all the things that need to be done between the two platforms to get it to work. We figure that you'll have training on, all the setup components that need to be in place for it to sync properly. So again, this is going to be a little bit higher level than that deep dive. But again, please ask any questions that you have. We'd be happy to answer those. And so with that, I'll go ahead and I will stop sharing and turn this over to GaleForce.
Okay, thank you very much. So let me make sure I'm sharing the correct screen. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. So as Jen mentioned in her introduction, GaleForce Media is a media planning and buying platforms used by agencies and in-house advertisers alike, and we are completely web-based. So basically, how the system is set up, right now you're looking at our dashboard which is just an overview of the current campaigns we've been working on. And of course, we have a toolbar going down the left-hand side is how you navigate from one module to another. And there are two specific modules which do communicate with the Workamajig platform, which I will definitely get into. So how we operate, really, you're going to have a list of all of your clients. Okay, you're going to have an alphabetical list of your advertisers. And then when you click on the name of a particular client, then you're going to have the campaigns that are associated with that particular client. And that's also where you come in to obviously create a new campaign. One thing about our platform is we are a multimedia platform. So when you are building a campaign, you have different options of media types that you can build a campaign for, as well as it could be a multi-market. So in this particular instance, this is a radio campaign. You do have the ability to combine media channels in one overall campaign, as well as combine markets. So you can have multiple markets under one campaign and multiple media types under one campaign. The other thing you're going to do is you're going to set up a job number in here. So this is going to match the Workamajig project ID. So this is your connector. So this is going to connect everything over to the Workamajig platform. And that's basically how you set up the campaign foundation. And then once that is built, you're going to open up and build the actual what we call the worksheet. So this is actually putting the buy together. And again, this is the radio buy. So you can see the different stations that we're going to be buying for this particular campaign. And then, of course, all the metrics involved. So in this particular campaign, you can see our total spot count up here in the orange, as well as the total gross cost for this particular campaign. And you can see, of course, all of the details involved in regards to the stations, the times, the day parts, and obviously the cost ratings, et cetera. So when it comes time to go ahead and turn this into an actual order, on the same screen, you're just going to click this Create an Order button. Now what that'll do, that'll take you to a separate section of the platform. We're going to customize what you want on that particular order, who it's going to, et cetera. Once the orders are created, the system will separate them out by vendor, of course, and they're going to be housed in this My Orders section. Okay, so this is our first connection with Workamajig. So as they're all separated out by vendor, you'll see that there's an accounting export option up here. So you're just going to click off the orders that you want to send. So again, you can click off multiple orders to send them over at once. In this particular example, I think we're just going to send the one station order for now. So I'm going to choose that Workamajig API. And this is the information that's going to go over to Workamajig. This is nothing you really need to concern yourself with per se, but this is everything that they're requiring to send over. And of course, we hit the send to Workamajig. And I don't know, Heather, do you have an integration with on that?
Yes.
Okay.
Screen.
Let me, hold on, let me stop sharing.
Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Okay, give me just a second. Can you see me now?
There we go. I do.
All right. So once our order is generated, as Kevin mentioned, we can then send it to Workamajig. I'm just going to click my option here, accounting export to Workamajig API, and we're going to click send to Workamajig. And once we do that, then we will get a success message telling us that that transfer was complete and it was sent over to the Workamajig side. There we go. So David, I'm going to pass the baton over to David so he can show you how those things appear in Workamajig for the next step.
Okay. Thank you very much. And let's see, where do you, here we go. All right. Okay, so you should be seeing the plan. So again, Heather sent over that plan, and this is the way it comes in. Our connection is usually through a project, so it's just a normal media project. Oftentimes, that's a yearly buy. This is where all my media buys will be housed. Okay, we would often have a budget, and would also start to see things flow through. But when it first arrives into Workamajig, it's going to come in as a plan. And so when I click into that plan, it's going to show me, again, that value, how much was sent over. And so that should match, right? What was in GaleForce, sorry. Okay. So the first thing we actually need to do, and here, I'll go ahead and click on the plan. And so this is actually the individual bylines that would be sent across to us. But at this point, we still don't have the orders. So when we come back to the plan, you'll see this release orders. And so this release orders needs to be done in the initial time that you send it across. So again, WZPL, this is a brand new buy, brand new plan that came across. And so we need to select these and say release them or generate orders, okay? Any buys that have not been generated or released, we will not see in Workamajig yet, right? So again, this is how we get them and they become orders within Workamajig. Heather, did you have something, Dad?
Nope.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so again, the idea is that this screen should really be blank, okay? So again, I'm doing a select all, but again, they have some other things in here, so we're just going to keep it to the one. And I just select all and say generate the orders, okay? Now, the only time you need to do this is when you're first sending it over. Now that it has been sent over and I click on the plan, you'll see now that there's orders created for each vendor. And again, this is set up under BO1168 in Workamajig. And so once that's in, depending on your settings, this may need to get approved, but generally they're sent in already approved. Okay? All right. Now, the only time that you would need to come back and visit this, release orders is if, as you see, this is WZPL, right? So we cleared those or released those orders into Workamajig. So if you add a new vendor or a new station, again, we would have to release the orders. But prior to that, once we've released it, any updates that you make to this WZPL buy will just automatically be sent across, okay? Or I think you still have to say send it to Workamajig, the API, but again, it will just update the values within Workamajig. Okay.
You are correct, David. Revised orders would need to be generated on the GaleForce side and then synced over for those revisions.
Right. But there's not a need to release the orders. Again, the connection has already been made, so those changes will be automatically incorporated into that buy. Again, it comes across just as normal, right? You see a BO and there's the individual lines. And again, this value should match what you're doing. Okay. Within the project itself, of course, that would start to hit your budget, perhaps. Okay. Probably should have loaded the budget so I could have gotten a little faster. Okay, so here's my budget. I had a budget of 100,000 for radio, 200,000 for TV, and you can see that right now we have in gross 690,000 or $690 so far. And again, when I drill down into that, I'm going to see those buy lines that make up that amount. And then as we change over to vendor invoices, then that's what would come across. Okay. Again, pretty straightforward. It's a pretty slick, pass over of the buys. Okay. Does that work? Okay. All right. I guess the next question that we would talk about is sending over the vendor invoices, or I could talk a little bit about billing, but maybe let's look at passing it back to GaleForce and do the vendor invoices, perhaps?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
All right. So once we have synced our order over, month happens, we get our vendor invoices in. Those invoices are going to come into the reconciliation module. We have the ability to import broadcast invoices, which I took the liberty of doing. So I've got my invoice in here. I can go about matching that to my order. So I'm just going to do a quick match. And anything that would be discrepant would be showing up here at the top. In our case, everything ran properly. So we're going to go ahead and save these items, and we can close out of this. So now we can see that that invoice has been matched. And then we just need to move this to our archive. And we're going to archive that invoice. Once that invoice has been archived, we can then sync that over to Workamajig. So just like we did on the orders, I'm going to select the invoice or invoices. I can select multiples here, and then I can go ahead and go to my accounting exports and choose Workamajig API. Again, I get kind of a preview of what's going to be sent, and I can send this to Workamajig. And we get our success message.
Yay. Okay.
We also see the date and time
Good.
here that's been exported. And then we can go in here and then we can mark it as completed if we want to kind of just get anything that's already been synced, out of the way. And then I will turn this back over to David so he can show you where the invoice lands in Workamajig.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so let me go ahead and just refresh this one again. So again, we have that plan that came across, and now we see something slightly different. If you remember, this said invoiced was 0, right? And now since you sent that over, it now has the invoice net amount. Okay, and again, didn't have to do anything else, right? As soon as you sent it across, it's across because the hooks are already set. Okay, and so when I click on invoice, again, we're going to see the orders. In the top right corner, we'll see vendor invoices. And again, that's going to give me that actual vendor invoice. And what we look for is here where it says WMJ invoice. We know that it's, this is from GaleForce. And then this would be that it's come across and it's in Workamajig. And once again, this may need to be approved. It usually comes across as approved. But again, there are settings if the person doing it, is unable to approve it. But again, we think that it's from GaleForce, so it should be an approved one. And so again, it's auto approved for that. And then we could start talking about the billing and payment. It works the same, right? So it's just a vendor invoice that will be in your AP for you to pay. It's also going to be, of course, because on an individual line, we're going to see that there's an amount that I can bill. And so again, that I can either recognize revenue for this or I can bill this directly. Okay. Now, okay, so we have a couple, let's see. Does this might be a good spot. Let's see. Does MediaForce do EDI or do you have to manually import the vendor invoice? Oh, I guess that's electronic invoicing.
Yeah, we do electronic invoicing. It is imported from either TV invoices, radio invoices, or cable, to import that into the system. So there, you don't have to manually key in all your dates, times, and rates. You can import that in. And I think somebody had asked also, how did the vendor invoice get there? Can you talk more about that process? So yes,
Yeah,
again,
sure. Let me
go to
let me go
TV.
ahead and stop sharing and we can
Yeah.
do that.
You're going to go to either TV invoices or radioinvoices.com. You're going to download that EDI file. Let me go ahead and share my screen.
There we go.
Um, So to get those invoices in the system, I've already downloaded it from the portal. I would go into invoices. I would click the blue bar here at the top to import my invoices. I would just choose add files and I can pick up to 10 files. I'm just going to use this one that we had for our example. And then I'm going to click continue. Now, because I've already imported this one, it's just basically telling me, hey, this invoice already exists. So just a safeguard so you don't import it more than once. I'm going to go ahead and allow it to import it, just so you guys can see the process. It does try to align it up by estimate number. So if the estimate number from the buy and the invoice match, it's going to find that and do that fuzzy math. So it knows that it's for the test advertiser for the July 4th campaign. And actually, this one was I used the same estimate number on both. Or I didn't have one on this one. So I actually switched it to this one. We had a couple different versions of this buy that we were testing. And then, yep, I want to continue. And then this was how that invoice landed here. So this is the state that it is once it's imported in from the portal. And then everything else is what we already covered. We would go to our actions, we go to match, we would match that invoice, and then archive it and sync it over to Workamajig.
And then I would just point out real quick that that estimate number is separate from the project ID we talked about in Workamajig. So the estimate number is unique to GaleForce Media, and that's very commonly used for media buyers, and that's what the station rep can then put on the invoice to match up, so it matches up to the correct campaign within GaleForce Media. So it is a separate number than the project ID that we talked about.
Okay.
Are there any other
Let's
questions?
see. Okay, so again, same thing. How did vendor invoice get there? Can you talk more? Okay, that one was answered. Okay, I'll say done on that one. Okay, what if the invoice is for multiple clients and projects, such as Google invoices? Do you have a special way to handle those?
Those would be manual invoice entry. So there's no electronic platform. Everybody hasn't agreed on an EDI layout for anything other than broadcast and cable. So manual invoice entry, and then you would just search up, who the client was, what campaign, what market, and then you would search, and then you would see all the different vendors and what months those were ordered for. So I don't have a Google example to show you, but let's just say I wanted to put this in manually. I can go into invoice entry, and we allow you to do totals only. So I could put in my invoice number and my invoice date. Those two are required fields. And then I could just go about putting, okay, I had one invoiced spot. It was for $5,400. Get my zeros all in there. And then this is going to calculate my differences over here for me. And then I can save those items. And then just like I did my others, once I enter it, then it appears here. It always defaults to a match status because there's no real value matching as far as line to line, spot to spot, like we have for broadcast. Again, I would archive that, and then I would sync that over to Workamajig. Now, this one, I don't have an order synced over to Workamajig. So if I try this, I'm probably going to get an error message telling me that fact. So we'll give it a try. Yep. So it's telling me it does not have those orders on the Workamajig side, so I can't send my invoice over until I have the order synced first. So that's, again, just a, preventative for you trying to send over an invoice before those orders have been sent over. But that's how you would handle something like Google, where you've got an invoice that isn't downloaded and imported through that process.
And so you just saying match totals, would that be sent over as more of a bottom line
Yes,
invoicing?
correct.
Okay. All right. So non-radio and TV use this. Okay. And then Rebecca, I think, yeah, that was answered. So again, whatever's in the platform that you're buying from, again, either the invoices will be digital invoices, or you can import those invoices in to reconcile those within GaleForce. Okay. All right. And then there's the, okay. All right. All right. So maybe if some of the things that always come up as far as media, again, this was designed for more the media buying. How do I get those media buys into Workamajig? And yeah, thank you very much for that. Now, the other side that comes about is how do I handle those within Workamajig once I have the vendor invoices and the orders in. Now, obviously, again, a vendor invoice is a vendor invoice. We don't care where it comes from. I don't think there's really any change that you would see as far as that goes, right? It's going to have a timing to it. When is it due? And so again, it'll be in your list of I need to pay things, right? So you're going to see within your purchasing, you're going to see invoices to pay. There would be the vendor invoices. There's the Cumulus one, and I can go ahead and pay that. And depending on how it gets paid, again, there's other settings within Workamajig to say, oh, we do an ACH for them. They ding our credit card. Or again, if you have V cards or things like that set up, or we cut a check to them or an ACH to them. Okay. Now, as far as billing is concerned, again, the way that we usually say it, the easiest way to make sure that kind of everything's run smoothly, media buyers are happy, AR and AP people are happy, is when we come into the project, and again, that transaction is going to hit the project, and of course, it's going to need to be billed. Okay. Now, what I usually suggest when we get to billing, here's as you can see, the vendor invoices come in. But what I usually suggest is for billing, we actually create an advance bill. And what's that? That's just saying, give me money so that I can buy your stuff. Does that make sense? So again, I said I have a total budget of $300,000. I said I just divided that as a 10-month buy plan, right? Uh, and so I just said, okay, well, let me get this line out so that when I print this out, again, the client kind of gets what they want. We're going to be ordering about 20K in TV, about 10K in radio this month. Again, it may be a little bit off or whatnot, but again, the total that you owe us is 30,000. So why did I do it that way? Right? It's just simply that it makes it very easy to get a plan in. It gets an easy way for your client to pay for it, right? Because 300,000 is what we're going to do. So pay me 30,000 a month for the duration. That's easier to plan for them as well. Again, if you need more detail, it's an invoice, so you can put as much as you want. And then on top of that, what I did is I then scheduled it. So I just said, hey, every month auto generate this, right? So it'll go each month. And so the first was the 9/16. Next time it'll be 10/1, 11/1, 12/1, 1/1, right? It'll just keep auto generating these. And then each time I can come in and edit these if I need to. I probably keep it kind of generic here on the subject, but again, depending on your layout, you can put anything you want in the description area or even in the line subject. Okay. Then at the end of the month, we know that all the vendor invoices have come in. Then I either, again, I'm showing you from the project. We don't have to do it that way, but I can come in and then I'm selecting all the vendor invoices, not the orders, just the vendor invoices. And I say, bill this, and it can be either very detailed, right? I can go ahead and do this, or I can do one line, or I can just do a single line. And I go ahead and create that. And then up in the top, I'm going to say, well, here, this month I only spent 690. So now I'm going to apply it towards that 30,000 that I already have, right? And so there, this is now seen as revenue in September for September invoices, if that makes sense. I've used 690 of the 30. And if this is the final invoice for September, that means my November billing cycle or my October billing cycle, right, would have basically 59,000 for me to work with. Okay. So again, didn't get any clicks. Radio was hammered on, right? Again, I'm just using the vendor invoice to get that in. Okay. So again, we can go into more detail if that's the route that you're going. Can you pre-bill orders? Yes, but then we kind of have to separate some things in that billing cycle. Okay. But for the most part, this is kind of the easy way to get those things through. If you guys are used to doing pre-bills, then you can pre-bill, vendor invoice comes in, matches as usual, but there may be some leftover things that still need a little bit of housekeeping to keep those cleaned up. Okay? That makes sense? Okay, looks like we got some. Okay. And so that's really the billing side. I know that was really high level, probably really fast. But again, what we wanted to show you is that GaleForce is you're able to purchase or buy your media, send that over to Workamajig quite easily, and then able to handle it within Workamajig. Either pay the vendors, of course, and bill your clients for that, as well as because it's sitting in within a project, you're always going to be able to see that budget, which again, that's maybe not a good screen on the budget. Um, Set that up. But again, we're always going to have, hopefully, amount billed, right? We're going to be able to see at least, budget versus actuals. We could also see how much has been billed depending on, how you set up these. But we're always going to see also, oh, sorry, didn't set those up. But again, we're going to be able to see those client P&Ls, project P&Ls type of thing that they would provide data to. Okay. All right. All right, now back to the GaleForce side. Sorry, slight detour there. When pulling over orders, will the IO and BO buys fall into the appropriate months when creating a revenue forecast? Or do all the cost revenue post into the first month based upon the start date? Okay, so when I'm pulling over the orders, the IOs, again, they're dated, so they would have their own dates, right? See, okay, so if we look at the plan, we look at, again, these are all set to uh, July. Again, these were kind of old. Just depends on how they're created. But again, whatever those buy dates are, those would come across as that, right? So if this was a buy for, July 10th, this was for the 20th, right? We just kept it very simple and only July buys for this one. Okay. And these would slot out as far as expenses. Again, they would be available for billing. As far as revenue, do all the cost revenue post in the same month? Again, as far as the cost is concerned, if I'm not pre-billing, an order is not a cost, so that would not fall anywhere. But the vendor invoice itself, again, it's dated on that. Sorry. Oh, wrong one. That vendor invoice has a posting date. And so again, this is when this expense will hit. Truly, as opposed to, again, these bylines may be from April, May, June, even maybe some of July. But again, that's where the bylines would be, but the true expense is going to hit on 7. All right. Well, guess that was short and sweet. Okay.
Let me
Do we
go.
have, yeah, do we have any more questions? Lose my question. Here we go. Okay. GaleForce team, did you have any more to add to?
No.
I think there was a screen with our contact information.
Oh, sorry about that.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't have the contact. So let me stop sharing because I think you guys have that one.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that stop sharing. Okay. So thank you guys very much for attending. If you have any questions, support@workamajig.com. If you have specific questions for GaleForce, you're welcome to send us. Again, we'll put these links into the notes, so to speak, on the YouTube channel. So again, if you want to contact GaleForce directly, again, just go to galeforcedigital.com, GaleForce Media / or again, you can send a note. Oh, didn't get an email?
Hmm. There's an email at the bottom,
Oh,
info@galeforcedigital.com
Yeah,
on
it's
thank
the
in
you.
small
notes.
print.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so if you
Yeah.
have any questions, info@galeforcedigital.com. They'd be happy to help you. Okay. Here's a question. What does the reporting look like? So is this the reports out of GaleForce? I would say. I guess you'd be the Oh,
Out of Workamajig.
okay. Reports out of Workamajig. I'm not sure which reports you'd want to see in regards to that. Again, we would see all the bylines would be their bylines if I'm looking at broadcast orders. This is a reason that we actually send it to a project because then I can see the orders and vendor invoices for all the buys in one location. So again, that's just a matter of setting up what columns you want and any calculations that you need. I don't know how to demonstrate basically an Excel sheet kind of thing with the columns that you want filtered the way you want with the responses that you want, any calculations that you may need for that.
I think there was a question on how to get to the plans within Workamajig, and I think maybe if you, David, showed them like the buttons on the toolbar in Workamajig to get to the where you start out media, then go to media plans, maybe.
Yep. Again, trying to keep it simple there. So again, once this gets turned on, again, it'll be Workamajig, always under media, and then it'll be media plans. And then all the media plans that have been created would be listed here. So we search, in this case, for the plan number, which is here, the project number, the description, right, is usually part of that. So again, that's how I can do test 1, 2, 3, 4, because that was the project. And it brings me to that plan and I can open it up. We also have, again, views that would handle the same thing, get maybe a little bit different filtering for that.
And David, for any GaleForce clients that are current, they still have to request access to media plans. Is that correct?
Yes, although we made it a bit easier. But yes, just ask your account manager from Workamajig and we'll be happy to turn it on for you. Yeah, because some people, hey, I got a media plan, great, but it's really not designed for manual entry of anything. So it's really GaleForce related to get that in there. So get the information in there. You can, but it's a little difficult to manually do that. So that's why we keep it off until you tell us that I need it. We'll turn it on. Okay. Reading, let's see, when polling. Okay, we got that. Okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you for a couple of side questions. Again, I'll let you one more time. If you wanted to share your contact info again, Heather, sorry. And again, the recording, so the recording for this will be available in probably 3 to 5 days on our YouTube channel that you can subscribe to. And also, if you did register for this, usually they'll send you a link for the video once it's ready. Okay. Again, if you have any further questions that we didn't answer, or want deeper dives, GaleForce is always willing to provide demos. Again, from the Workamajig side, we're always able to talk about that, and if we have to be on the same call at the same time, we're also happy to do that.
And we also do offer trials. So if you want to get in, kick the tires, we're happy to set up a trial database for you. If you currently are a Workamajig client and are considering GaleForce, we are happy to do that for you as well.
Okay. And on top of that, even for Workamajig, we're able to set you up with a test site that you could test against. Some people like to test against their own, right? Keep it small. But if you want a test site, we can set up a test site for your team as well. All right. All right. Well, thank you everyone for your time. Truly appreciated. Go for a side. Kevin, Jen, and Heather, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
you guys,
Yeah,
you
thank you
guys
for
all
the
have
opportunity.
yeah, you're very welcome. And you guys have a great rest of the day.
You too.
All right.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.